Now this is River Valley Road. Today we are bringing you not to a residential apartment, but we will bring you to a freehold commercial shop house that is fronting towards River Valley, and this is the one. We're going to talk a little bit about shop house investment today, and I think you're in for a treat if you're looking for something that is freehold in D9, yet at the same time it's a commercial title. Follow me to 248 River Valley. Alright, so I'm going to bring you upstairs to level 2, and then you get a sneak peek on how level 2 of the shop house looks like. So as you can see, there's this like very nice cultural vintage kind of architecture right here, even at the stairway opening. So this is level 2. There are 2 separate units right here, and then we're going to head on to the one that's facing towards the front of River Valley Road, and this is it. Come on in. Commercial shop house like this one with the residential component right on level 2 and the 3rd level. This is all designed in a sense whereby you have flexible usage. So downstairs, as you can see, is now being tenanted to a mini mart, which very likely I think they will stay here for long because the branding has already been here for years. Now this is the front facing towards River Valley Road. We're also just nice at this intersection point of Muhammad Sultan Road as well. If you head downwards towards River Valley Road, that will then bring us to Fort Canning. That's where the MRT station is, and if you head upwards towards here, that's going to bring you towards Somerset. As you can see, Aspen Heights is already here. We've just did a video right there. And this is UE Square. So you're right here in the heart of the River Valley Road precinct, because this entire road, Muhammad Sultan, is the link towards Robertson Quay, towards all the very famous restaurants and pubs and cafes. To get something freehold like this one at about $7.3 odd million, this is as good as buying a landed property. The only key difference is that this is now a commercial title. Of course, it depends on whether are you buying this with a company name or are you buying this with an individual name. Later, as we head on back to the studio, I'm going to share with you some of the key differences and benefits and how do you do planning in terms of a property portfolio if you want to own such a shop house like this in the D9 area. So this room right now is being tenanted because residential level, you're allowed to rent out upstairs. You can stay here yourself. So this is like a studio unit, and guess how much is the rental? Later I'll share with you all the facts and figures, but room size, fantastic. You have this front portion here that has like a kitchen pantry, study area, dressing table area, TV console, and this entire place is your ensuite bathroom with its own laundry unit right here. And of course, this acts like a studio with a nice couch and a king bed. We shall not dive into the details because end of the day, if you're buying this, this is really for investment. Unless you want to live on level 2 and 3, you want to rent out level 1, which is also a good mix in terms of usage and planning as well. So let's head on to the other room. This is the place, very interesting setup.
Ain't nobody can touch my vision. Do it if I have to crawl.
So over here, this attic room is also now being designed as a room that is being rented out. So as you can see, it is a very self-sufficient studio unit with its own bed, the wardrobe space, the living room area. Plus, if you flip over to the other side, there's this ensuite that has already been glassed out. Pantry area right here. Based on the past history of renting this place out, there has always been back-to-back demand by tenants, especially for young couples or for bachelors or single professionals that are working in the CBD area or Orchard area. They want to be in close proximity because you just head downstairs, the buses are there, and it's so convenient. You're already in Orchard, you're already in town. And not forgetting the fact that you're buying something that's freehold in D9, and tenancy strength is definitely fantastic. Well, going back to the studio right now to talk about the numbers, so let's go. So shop houses were built as early as the 1800s as a place for both homes and businesses by a lot of Chinese business people. Mainly for the merchant and his own family, whereby the merchant will operate the business at the shop front and the family will live within the shop house itself. So during the turn of the century, richer business owners built townhouses as dedicated residences for themselves. They will modify the existing shop houses by adding extra levels and enchant the facade with beautiful decorative embellishments, and the ground floor would use as a shop front and then function as a main hall for receiving guests and their families as well. So as we can see, shophouses also evolve over the years in Singapore to reflect on the changing needs, the prosperity of the country and its people. And some interesting facts and features of shophouses is the 5-foot way. So the 5-foot way is the minimum width of the walkway at the first story of the shophouse. It was named as such as this because this was regulated by Sir Stamford Raffles in his town plan for the fledgling settlement in Singapore. I think definitely you know who that is because we all studied Sir Stamford Raffles as the founding person in our history books while we were in primary school. So the 5-foot way was always a bustling area of activities. Street barbers, cobblers, numerous other vendors and hawkers would do their trade along the walkway. And those who grew up in this era, they will remember fondly as a place where you will meet your neighbours as well as friends, and of course there's a lot of nostalgia surrounding the 5-foot way. And there was even a show created by Singapore Broadcasting Corporation in 1987 called 5-Foot Ways. Coming back to today, in the year 2021 leading towards 2022, what's important is that the master plan of the rejuvenation of Orchard Road is getting exciting. There's a proposed 6 kilometers green corridor to connect the existing Singapore Botanical Gardens to the Singapore River, and this linkway is to be built between the Istana Park and Fort Canning Park. And there are 4 precincts in Orchard that will be strengthened in order to add in more lifestyle destinations other than just shops alone. New mixed-use developments, there is a vacant state land above the new Orchard MRT station, is an example of something that's going to be very exciting for the entire Orchard master plan. Some investors deem shophouses to be a good middle ground between having a condo, private residential apartment plus a landed property, as it's definitely much more charming than the common terrace house bearing its heritage status. More spacious of course than just a single level apartment, because you usually will get at least 2.5 or 3.5 story kind of shophouses in the prime zonings. Location advantage is also something that a lot of people are looking at, because when you buy into a shophouse, especially in the CBD zoning or prime zoning like D09, you get not just a heritage but you also get the freehold status, especially if you're going for a shophouse that is freehold in nature or a 999 kind of status. So for shophouses like this property right here in 248 River Valley, this is located in the prime district of River Valley, and shophouses has also proven to hold its value very well, not just its inherent value but also its cultural value. So there are 2 types of shophouses, and the first type will be shophouses with commercial kind of status on level 1 and residential status on level 2 and 3, depending on whether is it a 2.5 story or 3.5 story type of shophouse. Now this will be the shophouse that is very similar to the one that we have just visited at 248 River Valley, whereby the entire title of the shophouse is a commercial shophouse. However, there's a residential component on the upper story levels. What this means for you is that if you were to invest in this shophouse using either your personal name or company's name to hold a property, there will be ABSD involved in the upper story level based on the value that the value will determine. However, there is no ABSD for the level 1 component, which usually is the largest chunk of the square footage. Now the other type of shophouses will be the pure commercial type of shophouses. It means that on level 1, 2 and 3 on the attic level, these are all commercial status and there are no ABSD involved. And the most important numbers we want to know as an investor is that whether does the rental yield make sense in the mid to long run, and does the investment component make sense based on the amount invested in either this or this kind of shophouses. We want to compare that between the two based on the overall quantum as well as what might appreciate even faster in the mid to long run. So let's have a look at the numbers. If you were to buy something within the prime zoning, most of the time you will be looking at tenants that wants to have that shop front within the prime locale. Take for example 248 River Valley. The total rental is at 18,000 per month based on this 2.5 story shop house. And to break down the component, the land area is 1,565 square feet. Total build area is at 3,387 square feet. The split across first, second and the attic level is that first level you have 1,565 square feet, second level is approximately about 1,049 square feet, and the attic level is approximately at 773 square feet. So level 1 is rented out to a modern mini mart right now, which has been operating there for years. We think a very highly likely that shop, because of its prominent feature, with its road-facing kind of presence in the entire River Valley belt, we think that that shop definitely will be doing quite well in years to come. And level 2 and 3 is currently rented out as residential components to renter expat tenants, and thus vacancy period is also kept to a very low level, because as long as you rent out the residential component in a slightly smaller quantum compared to a full-blown condominium project in the vicinity, you're definitely going to attract expatriate tenants who love to live in heritage shop houses, but at the same time, they don't really have time to utilize condo facilities. Now, coming back to the overall quantum in terms of the shop houses, overall price investment, if you were to look at the core area, which is the CCR zoning, it's almost impossible to find a shop house that is below the $8 million mark. Now, this shop house in River Valley currently is asking for $7.35 million, which is below the $8 million quantum mark. Overall rental per month is at $18,000 per month. If you were to hunt for a full-blown commercial kind of status shop houses, definitely every shop house that you will be finding right now is above the $10 million mark. A lot of investors, they will look for the full-blown kind of commercial shop house in order not to pay the ABSD. But coming back to this, if you were to pay ABSD on 248 River Valley as an individual, as a company, these are the total numbers that you will be looking at if you're paying the full asking price. You have to pay 12% ABSD on the residential component if this is technically your second residential holding, and the total amount will amount to this. Now, if you were to set up a company, assuming you get an 80% loan, for these two examples, we'll just take the 80% kind of leverage for both examples, but the total price of you owning this property using a company name, that will involve an ABSD of a higher component, which is at 25%. So this is the total amount that you are looking at. So judging by these two comparisons, compared to buying a full-blown commercial kind of status shop house at maybe about 15, 16 or even $20 million based on similarity in terms of land size, in terms of locale. Most of the time, you can even buy two of these type of shop houses if it's available in the market, judging by the overall quantum. And thus, it's very important to combine the total rental that you might get on this type of shop houses versus this type of shop houses, vis-a-vis the overall quantum that's being invested into both ends, and you try to make sense and see what might work good for you based on your ROI return or cash on cash return in at least the next 5 to 10 years to come. Next will be the kind of allowable usage for level 1 and level 2 and the attic level, because when you own a shop house with commercial allowable usage on level 1, there are different types of businesses that can be allowed to operate based on the URA planning. We're going to list down the types of possible allowable usage based on the URA website at this point in time of filming. And of course, for level 2 and 3, there are also various different types of usage that you can utilize as well. Now, last but not least, we also noticed that if you are currently operating a business, if your business already requires a shop house kind of context within the prime zoning, then it might be more worthwhile for you to consider ownership compared to tenancy, because the rental tenancy for shop houses tends to run in tandem with the market over the years, which means that sometimes if you are running a very profitable business, or maybe your business has already a presence, people already know where your restaurant, where your cafe, or where your shop is, having that 3 years lease that you renew every 3 years, you definitely might face that amount of uncertainty negotiating with a current landlord. And thus, once you have that capital, you might want to consider owning a shop house for yourself. So if we were to compare ownership versus tenancy, these are the two sets of numbers that will make a difference over the long run in the next 10, 15, 20 years of you operating a business, especially if you factor in the amount of renovation that needs to be done. Should you always need to change shop's location every 3 years, perhaps sometimes you cannot get into a nice win-win conclusion with your existing landlord. Maybe your landlord want to increase the rent, or maybe take back the shop for their own use, and you might have to relocate. Every relocation costs time, money, and renovation costs, and if you factor all that in, sometimes it makes a huge difference to your bottom line for a business end of the day. And I think if you are looking for a longevity in having a business presence in a particular prime locale, then you might want to consider ownership compared to tenancy. At the end of the day, let's say, for example, after 20 years, if you were to retire and you want to sell the business away, or you want to shut down the business, you can still utilize that property as a rental kind of investment component over the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. You can pass on to your next generation as well, because this is a freehold property and it can be kept for future generations to come. So we have come to the end of our 248 Roof Valley Shop House home tour plus studio analysis. And if you want to have a look at the place, give a call to our listing manager that is in charge of this property listing. Do remember to support us by subscribing to the channel to keep yourself well informed of the next upcoming video content. We hope that we added value to you, and my name is Melvin Lim. As always, happy to show the place, and meantime, take care. No. Oh, I need a chiropractor for my neck. So shophouses were built as early as the scroll down, start line all the way. Okay, 这边 okay, 好，这边 ready to go. So the 5 foot way is the minimum